Hello, 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 you guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the VicTORIEus. Well, let me tell you something. It's humbling for me because every now and again I get those students who I've made an impact personally and professionally. And this young lady, I was actually surprised. No, I'll be honest, I wasn't surprised to see her support me and all of my endeavors because she's actually been there for everything. She was actually really one of my students, you guys. I've watched her not only grow up, but graduate, and she is pursuing her degree in early childhood. And it is humbling to call this young lady my mentee. Destiny, hey girl, where are you? Look, y'all, it's Destiny.
Hi.
Everybody knows Destiny because Destiny is so amazing.
Thank you.
It's
Thank you.
humbling to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank you so much.
welcome. So let me tell you, thank you so much for always supporting me when I was Mrs. Williams, your teacher, when
Yes.
I was Mrs. Williams, the activity director, making sure that
Yes.
you got involved in extracurricular activities and doing your thing. But I'll be totally honest with you, what's more than humbling is that I have been your mentor for years, not just seeing you
Yes.
graduate from high school, but pursue your endeavors, and it is humbling for you to follow in the footsteps of getting your degree to become a teacher. I'm super
Mhm.
proud of you, Destiny, seriously.
Thank you. Thank you
You
so
would
much.
be an example for people to see as far as people that actually have aces,
Hmm.
embrace their aces, and do what they need to do for their success. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You
Thank you
like
so
that
much for having
introduction?
me. Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. I love it. I
So
love
I
it.
think I told everybody about you. However, what did I leave out? What do you want to add?
Well, currently I teach a sixth grade ELA, so I'm having a fun time doing that. Sixth grade is a very interesting age group, I will say. So
Mhm,
it's been very, I would say it's one of my most rewarding but challenging experiences that I've probably ever went through. In general. I have, oh my gosh, I started with daycare and
mhm,
was a daycare teacher, then started with pre-K and worked my way up to second grade, and uh I taught with basically every age group except high school. So I
mhm.
I have definitely had an extensive and a variety of experiences, and I just felt like me and you, it just was very, very just right. I mean, the timing was just perfect to have this conversation, because we know what our babies deserve, and we know what type of environments they're growing up in, and so I just felt like that was something that also needed to be um, talked about as well. But um, yes, I also have what's called Turner syndrome. So it is only found in girls. It's only found in females. It's a very, very rare situation that happens during when the chromosomes are forming together to create the baby. There are so many things that can happen chemically, that could go wrong. But in my case, they told my mother that it would either be Turner syndrome or it could be Down syndrome. So um, Down syndrome is totally different. They have where their chromosome, they have one more than what is needed. So us, we lose one or we have half of one. So we're called a 45 karyotype. And like I told Dr. Williams that it is actually February, which is Turner Syndrome Awareness Month. So we have so many different, girls and women sharing their story. I mean, even on TikTok now, I was like, oh my God, just a Turner's TikTok. So if you guys ever wanted to support, we are always looking for those to support us because there's so many women returners that actually want to have children but may not be able to. They may want to do IVF, so supporting that medical endeavor of getting that support to them. I mean, even when it comes down to just our medical expenses and so many different things. I'm very blessed and fortunate to say that I don't have to necessarily worry about that because my mom was and my dad as well, they were both on it immediately, when I was younger to make sure I got everything I needed so I don't have to pay or we don't have to pay for that. So yeah, I just wanted to just say that as well because they're amazing. I know a few of them that are friends of mine that are women returners, and I actually know one that's an educator as well that's working at CPS. I believe she's an admin. So I mean, the sky's the limit for me. I know that one of my dad's favorite things to talk about is this judge that we met. She was at a Turner Central conference when I was a little girl, and he just felt like that was just showing the epitome of excellence for someone that was going through all those challenges, and he just felt like that was something that I should look forward to in the future to have that moment that I can be exposing myself to that greatness. And so I just I just appreciate just having that sisterhood and the girls that I talk to, because it's hard when it's a rare situation. You don't have a whole lot of people to really understand. So um,
And I do.
yes.
I understand. I've always
Yeah,
understood. I think you define the odds as far as I think there's a stereotype on special education, and
yes,
you defy the odds.
yes,
I thank you for educating us on the Turner syndrome because people don't know. But what I love about you, you've always embraced yourself. You've always embraced I don't want to call it a disability, but it's different than everybody else. And I think this is a good time to, talk about ACEs because you're definitely well aware of ACEs, but it's that stereotype. It's that people looking at you different. It's that judging you.
yeah,
You've had to experience it. I've witnessed it, but nonetheless, here you are, and you defying the odds, and I'm super super proud of you.
thank
Now,
you.
I do have a question. You brought up mom and you brought up dad, and your
Mhm.
parents were very supportive, and your parents are there. Are your
Yes,
parents, are they
yes.
together, separated?
So they are separated,
Okay.
uh, but they've been together for 22 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so you are well aware that you do have ACEs,
Mhm.
and you are aware of the household dysfunction because that's what we used to talk about in class all the time.
Mhm.
And so I think it's humbling for me again to have one of my students that are here that as I was going to school to get my dissertation, you were there.
I was.
Did
Yeah.
that motivate you?
Yes, absolutely. Um,
Oh,
I just want to say I feel like there's certain teachers
oh,
that certain educators that come into kids' lives and they just you really can't you can't get rid of your babies. It just certain ones that you have that distinctive relationship with that it just like is there. And so you have some teachers you just don't even remember. I mean, you you're like you just like, yeah, I didn't me or her didn't see eye to eye. Or, I mean, you will have kids that'll come to you and say, I know, especially for me, they'll be like, Miss Mills, I got this one teacher that I think you know, she's okay, but it's just like it puts into perspective that they obviously know who's for them. And
Mhm.
then they know who's there to go through those adverse situations with them. And
Right.
so I just feel like at this moment, at this stage, you know, because every age group is completely different. There's
Mhm.
so many distinctive ways to kind of go about it. There's so many different things that we can do to
Right.
help and support these students. And I think for me especially having you in my corner to be that for me, that is what I absolutely needed. And so um I know you I know you got your own daughters, and of course you got like I said, a lot of children that are always that are always around. But you know that's what's needed. The second auntie, the second mama, the big sister, whatever it is. I mean, because who knows what they have at home.
Wow.
So, when mine attach themselves to me, when my kids attach, at first I questioned it. I'm like, well, why you want to be always in my business? Why you always want to be in my space?
Right.
But it's just like, again, they're doing that because you have gotten that leeway where they feel so comfortable in your space, where
Mhm.
it's easy for them to really help you to understand what's going on at home. And that's when those conversations start to happen. And so when you teach them to advocate for themselves, they're able to really take what you're saying to them, and all of the love and the advice. You're able to allow that to be that piece that helps them to move forward, because this is
Wonderful.
this is ACEs is something that's going to be continuous in their life. They're
Right.
continuously to grow with that. And so if you think it's going to go through that one little stage of just their psychological or mental development, that's not true. And I mean, maybe
Mhm.
I'm speaking from an educator perspective because
Mm.
we know, but people think because kids go through it, they're not going to go through it, by the time that they're adults. That's not true,
Mm.
because they're going to follow,
Mm.
so
And she's been there, you guys. I did not put her up to this. I promise you. This is her. Anybody that knows Destiny, Destiny has always been destined for greatness. And so this is humbling. This young lady graduated in 2017, and here it is 2024. And so your story, seriously, is truly remarkable. Now, you mentioned the students in your classroom. Do
mhm,
you see aces in
mhm,
your students?
mm. Very much so. Uh,
Really?
I, got students that are dealing with very, very difficult home situations. I was even uh, teaching in CPS for a little while, and I mean, just the environment, just the situation that I knew for a fact that they were going through was just very, very troubling in my
Mm,
spirit,
mm,
uh, and my soul. It just it makes me um just feel like, well, I mean, I want to be Superwoman. I want to save them. I want to try to get everybody back on the same path to success. But sometimes the um home environment doesn't allow them to see that for themselves. And so
mm,
you have to be that one that gives them the opportunity to see excellence for themselves,
mm.
because they just don't sometimes have that.
Right.
And it gets draining. It
Mm,
gets draining. Um, and I've had teachers that are like second moms to me that have completely gave everything and been supporting me from day one.
mhm, mhm,
Right. Right.
mhm,
So, and then I have some that did not care, that could
mhm.
care less about,
Right.
that did not even ask, did I meet your needs?
Wow.
You know, are your IEP goals that are we hitting those?
Ooh,
Right? Because a
right.
part of ACEs is a part of also those things with academics and where the child is as far as how their experiences um and what they're going through affecting them in the classroom.
Right. And
So
we saw it because we were in a classroom and we saw our classmates and we saw our students. I think it was hard for me as activity director. So I talk about the classroom all the time. And I
yeah,
talk about how the kids used to come into our classroom because that's the classroom that they wanted to be in, but they didn't know our classroom was actually a special education classroom. I don't
yeah,
think people really knew that I was a special education teacher because I made
mhm,
sure I excluded the dynamic from the classroom. If you're coming to the classroom to speak to me, you're going to speak to my students too. And so you were pretty popular, not just because of you and who you are, but because we didn't let the label or the disability defy our odds. And I
absolutely,
think that's what it is. I think people will get that understanding of ACEs if they accept it and understand that they can actually do something about it. What do you
yes,
think?
yeah, absolutely. And I think the one thing that um it irritates me the most is when you see, you know, special education students being locked in rooms for hours to uh just in one classroom. They don't get the experience of switching the classes. They don't have the opportunity to be included or be in an
Mm,
inclusive environment.
mm.
That right there is creating their own aces because
Ooh.
that is creating a boundary, right? That's telling them you are not good enough to be here, so we're going to put you here. And you know, one thing about me, I not because I've experienced bullying and because you know I've had to fight for my confidence.
Mm,
It didn't get to this point, you know, just by it happening. It's just because I had so many people saying, Destiny, you know who you are? Do you know what you're capable of? You know, and that right there is just enough. But one thing that my, oh my gosh, my kids know. If I hear you, if I find out that you bullying somebody, I'm gonna get you.
mhm,
Because you know better.
mhm.
Don't let it be in my room. Cause they're really I could then I'm embarrassed you like you embarrassed them. Yeah. Yeah. And then we're gonna have a conversation after. Because
Uh-huh.
you're not gonna think you're being funny.
Look at that passion.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Destiny.
No,
Your
I'm telling you,
passion. Let's
I
go, girl.
I've had it. Like I've had it, you know, where I would hear some slick comments or, you know, one of my kids would say something about what, you know, one of the students. I'm just like, well, what about you?
Exactly. And
You
I
know,
think that's what people have to understand. Bullying is officially ACEs, which
yes.
means that's majority of the students in school because before the CDC put it out there that bullying is ACEs, we've made it normal to do this to other people, and it's never been okay. Never. Not at all.
And you know, it's not because necessarily I went through it, but it kind of hit home more or so that when I see them getting bullied, I see myself
Mm,
and I see the little girl that I was, and I knew that it's it's just so powerful to be in that moment where I could see her and I'm envisioning her and I'm stepping behind her,
mm,
protecting her.
mm,
And that's what I'm doing for them. And it's not like I don't love my kids that are doing it. You know, like
mhm,
I don't care about them. But when you are implying that you're better than somebody because they may be different than you in any sort of way, you know, you a little unique yourself. I ain't gonna say special, but you but don't, and it's always those when I'm just like, wait a minute, you
I
are
love you, Destiny. You are hilarious, but I love you so much, y'all. Listen to the passion. I want to address you when you're talking about your kids, you're talking about who?
my sixth graders. And I mean it, and my kids in general. I've been
I want to blame myself for that because y'all were my kids. And
yes,
so it's funny hearing you say that. It's like, oh God, you got a horrible mentor. But then again, you don't because I've seen it and I've seen those kids love on you the way that they do. And it's so amazing to see. Now, I do have another question
yes, yes.
because this interview is a tad bit different. My question is this.
Mhm.
How did you learn about ACEs?
Well, I learned about it. I will say from you. Obviously, it's very I would say not widely known, I don't think. Um, I feel like you were my outlet to actually understand what it is. And I want to make sure that I'm not only making myself aware of that as far as what made my situation and my experience unique, but knowing aces is very, very just crucial to everyone because so many people don't even know that they're going through it
Mm,
or that they've been through it until
mm,
they actually see it and
mm.
hear about it. And they're like, oh my gosh, that's me.
Right,
That's me.
right.
That's in a nutshell, so I
I feel like a proud teacher. This is different. Y'all don't understand. I didn't put this young lady up to this, I promise. When I seen her, I said, oh my God. I knew that this was going to happen. And it's perfect because again, for those who don't know, this is something that I actually really did. I did a study. I did the questions. I interviewed students. I came up with what we came up with, and this is the reason why we are here, you guys. And Destiny, yes, is one of those students that saw everything. But
Mhm.
what she did and what I love is that she took advantage of it by defying the odds, defeating the stereotypes, understanding ACEs, embracing her aces, and here she is. I know your parents, so I
Yeah.
know that your parents were always supportive of you. I know that your parents are separated. I know that you know about aces. Let's see. Okay, so I'll ask you a question. Do we have a boyfriend,
No.
girlfriend, boyfriend?
No.
No, and that's okay. Um, as far as abuse, have you
Mhm.
been involved in any abuse?
No. No.
Okay, very good.
No.
Hmm.
I
Um,
think
go ahead, baby.
so. I will say that as far as any type of things that have entered it into their, perspective have definitely had to have been the bullying. Um I never wanted to be an educator. That was not necessarily a part of the story plot.
Hmm.
that was
Hmm.
not um that was not necessarily one of my main things I wanted to do. I wanted to actually do like probably like some boring business ventures or like be in PR, HR, because I'm good with people. And
Mhm.
I mean, I would do good probably with that. I mean, and there's and I'm sure you know there's a lot of education, or I should say, um opportunities in education where we can, venture off into business.
Mhm.
There's consulting, like what you do. There's just so many different, avenues as to, put in a business with education. So if I always wanted to, I can always put that into something I want to do in the future. However, um, you know, as far as the bullying,
Mhm.
I think it I think it glitched me. I don't know.
Mm.
Um, I don't know if it did something to ignite something in me. You know
Mm.
how it's supposed to tear you down and it's supposed to, like make you it turned me into it turned me into a beast. I don't know. It just kind of just it's just it kind of did the opposite.
Mhm.
It didn't necessarily do what it normally does to certain people. And it's obviously because one of my family unit for sure,
Right.
and
I agree.
and number two is my secondary family, which you fall in, and everybody else who's helped to be a part of the seed that is planted, that is, you know. So you got those situations where you got people that just not letting you get down in any circumstance, So for me, that was probably the hardest experience because it's like,
So what do you tell a student that comes to you and says, "I've been bullied"?
so my first thing is saying, well, just know I am your support. I'm your advocate. And so if anybody is trying to hurt you, that we just not letting that fly.
Mm.
It's just not gonna happen. So creating that safe space and letting them know that you are somebody that I care about as my own,
Mm.
right? And if that was my own child or somebody, my nieces or nephews or whoever, I know how I feel about it.
Right.
So, um, because their parents are not there, you kind of got to step in line, and also you let them know that it's okay to not be okay after the fact, and to let them know if it's get it to the point where you feel that you are not mentally capable of handling it yourself, make sure you reach out and get to those resources because it is just so important. It's so important. Um, and like I said, this topic, this conversation, um, it's just very near to my heart because I I just want them to know like you're not doing this by yourselves. And there's no reason why you should ever let anybody whatever their their negative the negative thoughts of their self be put on you or to you know uh try to say demeaning things to you because that's what they feel about themselves. And that's what I've noticed, that a lot of those children that say those things that hurt those children, they got a lot of things happening at home that may be aces.
Mhm.
And so they put that on the kids that they know are not going to say anything,
Wow.
or they're going to do it to the kids that are too scared
Mhm.
to say something. And I remember the first time I would say I was in middle school. Shout out to Gwendolyn Brooks and Harvey. Shout out to the Warriors. um, but I I remember I had a situation where, you know, I was tired. I was tired of it. I'm like, okay, before we get to high school, listen, we wrapping this up.
Mhm.
All this like you trying to tear me down, like trying to make me feel inadequate or feel like I'm just not enough. Like basically I'm just nipping in the bud now.
Mhm.
And I was able to really stand up for myself at that time of my life. Um, and that's when I really started to understand, like, wow, like I have the power to really move myself forward. And if I let people take that power from me, I can't be as successful as I really want to be in the future. And my dad always told me that you want to be around people that add from you and not subtract from you.
Wow. Come on, girl.
And so that piece in itself is very um just very important because you
Mhm.
can think about that as you going through high school, college,
Mhm.
middle school, whatever the case. I mean, even the babies. I mean,
Right.
you let them know if your friends are not supporting you, not giving you the love, the support, the just the the environment around you is not feeding goodness into you. It's not instilling any substance. That you gotta move forward.
You're
And you
so
got
mature. I'm so proud of you, girl. Okay. I gotta calm
thank
myself
you.
down. You're so mature.
So-
Y'all, this is my child. I'm so sorry. Okay, hold on. Okay. All right. So listen, I got a question. I'm sorry.
yeah.
How important, because we've been talking about this, how important is the conversation around ACEs? And how can we promote awareness? What can we do?
Um, ever since I started teaching, I've always had a very big mixture of IPs and 504s
Mm-hmm.
in my classroom. And
Mm-hmm.
most of those children with the IPs and the 504s
Mm-hmm.
have either one parent that, they are only in contact with. They have, grandparents that have taken on that responsibility. Um, they may be in a situation where they don't really got nowhere to sleep at night.
See, you're well aware of ACEs. This isn't fun. Like, it would be different if I'm trying to really do this because again, you guys, it's time. We've had these conversations and she's well
Mhm.
aware of ACEs. Not only is she an ACE poster child like me, but she has paired up with someone that has helped her and is pushing her through. And I'm stuck with her for the rest of my life. I already
Oh,
know it's an issue.
yeah.
But this is what you guys have to understand. These are the conversations that we were having in our classroom. This is the conversation that she's having. When you talk about the special education students, and emotional disability is special education. And so it wouldn't, I think that's the reason why we need to defy the odds and let people know that special education don't mean that you're slow. It doesn't mean that it's the fact that you're a little different than other people. which is why I'm so grateful that you started off letting people know that you have the Turner syndrome, because you didn't let that defy you at all. You didn't let anything defy you. And it's people out there that do, though. And so, for those people that do, what would you tell them?
We're so used to labels with
Mm-hmm.
everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you see a BMW without the BMW sticker on there, you're gonna know it's still I mean, it is what it is. It's still a Beamer, it's still a BMW. If you
Mm-hmm.
see a Rolls Royce without the emblem at the top, I mean, you gonna know what it is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
So whatever you label something, it doesn't uh necessarily give it any or more or less of um how I should say importance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter because at the end of the day, it's more or less of what type of value you put into it.
Ooh.
So you can label it all you want, but guess what? If that beam ain't starting, and that's an old raggedy beam that ain't got no type of value to it. Guess what? You can't just say, "Oh, well, it's a BMW." You know, it's a BMW. It's a nice car. Well, yeah, maybe a nice car 20, 30 years ago.
Mm.
But guess what? You still got value where you want to put it, right? Because of the name, because of the label. That's what you're putting onto it. And I'm gonna tell you something very interesting. As an educator and as a teacher, I have never, in any other school district I've applied for,
Mm-hmm.
I have never, ever, 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 in my my interviews, I have never told them once that I had Turners. And
Really?
I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Because as a young black woman already as an educator, it's already enough.
Ooh, wait.
So for me to also add that to the pot, right?
Mm.
Now they're gonna have another thing to put against me.
Ooh, wait.
So I have decided in my mind that if I could still affect my kids in the most positive and the most influential way possible, to be successful and to be great and to go out to this world and do amazing things. And I do my job and get my job done every day. What do you need to know? Or what does it matter
Ooh,
to know about my disability? And to
come
me,
on. Ooh, girl.
I just I just have never felt the need to do that because that has nothing to do with my capability or my support to my students, to my kids. That has nothing to do with what what type of success I'm putting them towards.
Mm-hmm.
That what has happened with me, that's just something that has just been added on to me that is more of a blessing than a curse.
Mm.
And you got to look at it as, you know, am I going to work with this? Am I going to build with this? Or I'm just going to let it just keep pulling me down and keep pulling away. I could say woe is me all the time. Oh, I
Mm-hmm.
got this, I got that, you know, like what's the point?
Mm.
Because see, if I do that, then my students are going to say, well, Miss Mears can complain and say she got this going on, she got that going on. And so now I'm going to make excuses for myself.
Ooh,
So basically, I have another purpose or have another reason to go hard. And it's because they watch me. And so if I sit
man.
up there, so if I were to say, you know, I've been through multiple surgeries and I, you know, I done dealt with teachers that have come into IEP meetings with me that know nothing about me. They know nothing about what is needed for me to be successful. They don't even know my name per se. And I've had that happen. I'm not gonna go all the way into it, but you know, it was ridiculous. I never in my life, never in my life have I had that happen where I would be in this IEP meeting that's supposed to be for me, to help me, to build goals, to be able to move forward. And to be honest with you, the only thing I really needed support was with math.
Mm-hmm. True. I'm
But
aware
but
of
the
this.
yeah, but the thing is, even now, what that piece right there, if that person is not doing their job and they're not expecting much from me, what does that look like for me to have somebody that's supposed to be an exemplary example of excellence? Like they're supposed to be somebody that I look to for for me to achieve what I need to be my teacher, right? So if you're in my IEP meeting and you know nothing about me, why are you here?
Mm.
I just
You
want
got good points. I think what I love, oh God, is what you said in regards to your disability. You're never going to let that defy you. I want to let you know this is what I tell people about ACEs when I'm doing ACEs education, either in professional development, in trainings, or with students. Once you get that score, you can't let that score define you. I
mm-mm,
have people now, perfect tens, fours. I have actually met a few people with zeros. That's fine. Congratulations. But you do not let that define you. And that is you. And that is what people need to know. So you have to continue teaching and preaching because the impact that you have, not just on everybody, because people love you, Destiny, for real. They really genuinely love you.
thank
To
you,
know that the students are doing the same, my hat goes off to you.
thank
Thank
you.
you for saving lives. Thank you for just being a gift. Thank you for going in the field of education because I know it's not easy right now. I know, trust. I know you be complaining, but guess what? Those kids need you, and you've made such an impact on them. So, yes, you guys, I'm sorry. This was a different podcast. And again, I didn't put her up to it. I promise you all my life, I didn't.
Mm-mm,
This is so humbling because you know about ACEs. You're educating. It's personal for you and
mm-hmm,
it's professional.
yep.
So, with that, tell us something that you do outside of education that you do for your own self-care.
Well, I have always loved being in creative spaces. Like I don't know if you remember, but I was always drawing, always,
Mhm, mhm,
always into the arts. And I just been trying to take more time to travel and enjoy myself because it's like I worked hard. I
mhm.
grinded to this point
You did.
and worked extremely hard to just enjoy my fruits of my labor at this point. And I, of course, this is just the beginning for me.
Mhm,
I have a whole long journey to go.
mhm.
Because I'm trying to get to where you at, where I can be chilling on the podcast, you got to spread that knowledge. I'll try to get to that point, but um, you know, it's it's a beautiful thing because um I remember And I'm sorry to go off on it for a minute, but I remember when I graduated and I got my last finals done, right? And it was a math. When I found out that all the kids was gone, right? Everybody was gone. And I was the last one taking my exam. I got off. He told me I passed. That was my last exam. If you guys don't know, when you are in the education program, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to have a whole lot of finals. In the education program, it's more project based, more study assessment based. Because as educators, we have to learn to collect data, make sure that we are implementing those analytics and things that we collect from testing, things like that. So you learn that, as you're finishing your program. So a lot of it is, nothing to do with standardized testing. We don't really do much, but that math class, that math. Ooh, that was very difficult because I had to be at home and I wasn't there to get that one-on-one instruction. So a lot of the babies that were trying to do this at home, trying to work, trying to go to school from home. Now we can understand why, especially our Asian babies, why
Mhm.
they struggled so much when they came back.
Mhm.
Because,
They still struggling, girl.
oh my gosh, it is bad. It is bad, but I I got off the laptop. I, I ran downstairs. I fell on the floor. I started crying and bawling, crying and bawling. Oh my God. It just to like just to relive that moment. It's just, and my mom was just looking at me like, what's wrong? What happened? You did pass? I said, I'm done, Ma. I'm done.
You defied the odds.
Oh my
You
God.
did what we call a positive experience because you can create those positive child experiences as well.
Yes.
And being the person that was the educator and the graduation coordinator, it was humbling to see. I still have our picture. I do
Oh,
of you graduating.
we did it up.
Yeah, we had
We
fun.
we
We
had a
did.
great time. That
We did.
that was probably one of the best years, I think, because
Y'all senior year
when you're
was
leaving,
fun.
yeah, when you leave is something influential.
Yes.
It's something so special behind. And I think that was actually was that your last year?
No, I did 2018 and I did 2019's graduation. I was done for sure. I didn't get to see 2020.
Okay. Cause I think you were on your way to Texas by the time
2020. Mm-hmm.
during the pandemic, because I think that's when I
Mm-hmm.
got back in contact with you.
Mm-hmm. Tell our audience where they can find you because I'm telling you, this podcast is going to be amazing. It's going to be great because, of course, we have a foundation out here now. The
Mhm.
foundation was created because when I was you all's mentor, it was in being a teacher and an educator, I felt like it was part of the program to mentor you guys. And now that I'm not in schools anymore, that's what the foundation is for. And so this is going to be great because as a mentor in the program that's going to be mentoring other people, where can they find you?
So I am on Instagram mostly. Um, so it's DESTINNYY underscore underscore underscore. So I'm mostly on there. I decided to kind of document my teaching journey and some little things with that, and just still being in college and experiencing so many different things with that, and juggling everything. So if you guys are interested in that, I definitely do that and document everything because it's important. I feel like
Mhm.
this is a special time. You know, if you don't document those things, to document the stressful time, the good time, the overwhelming time, the time that are celebratory, that just really brings so much joy when you think about it. I mean, it's a monumental thing, and um before we end, I just want to say also with Turner's, mental health with a lot of the girls, and women with Turner's in general has been studied. And it has been actually shown that a lot of them are facing a lot of mental and emotional um stress just because of them obviously having a whole nother different perspective of womanhood. And it's just like you already are dealing with certain medical things that like with hormones. We don't really necessarily have enough estrogen or progesterone, so we have to take those. Some girls might take birth control or whatever. And so when you add that to the equation, I mean, our hormones already are all over the place.
Mhm.
So let alone having that situation can really, really cause a lot of things to be difficult to deal with.
Mhm.
Especially when it comes to, like I said, the mental aspect. And I had to check in with myself, because I'm juggling a lot and I'm responsible for a lot.
Mhm.
I'm just not just responsible for me. I got so many other people relying on me. So
Mhm.
I have to make sure I check in with myself. And that's something that all of us, if you're an ACEs or not, you got to understand where your mental check-in is and where your mental temperament is. And it's something where I try to even implement that with my kids, because a lot of them don't understand their mental temperaments. They
Mm.
don't know how to express that they're not in the right space.
Mhm.
They don't feel like they're there. They don't feel like they're um having a good day or whatever. They don't know really how to express that sometimes. And sometimes it could be, them having a little attitude, or even to the extent they might have a fight.
Mhm.
And we're so quick to say, oh, that's because of behavior issues. Well, are you going to say that that's behavior issues, or are you going to say that's because of ACEs?
Ooh. But
I
I
mean,
think education of ACEs and understanding of ACEs is key. And
mhm,
that's the reason why we're here. And
yeah.
this is the reason why I thank you so much, because you were there. You've been in those shoes of students, and now you are the educator. So
Mhm.
it's up to us to continue to educate. And that is another wonderful episode of Be Victorious. You all know where to find me. I'm Dr. VicTORIEus everywhere. If it's not Dr. VicTORIEus, it's Be Victorious. I'm encouraging people to go ahead and support the Be Victorious Foundation, because we have to continue to mentor. Those kids need us. And so, with that being said, thank you all again for another wonderful episode. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye
Right,
bye.
right. Thank you.